منم از شما ممنون.
مامانم کیانا خیلی دوست
داره. اولین دوست بود که اینجا با کیانا آشنا شدیم. این خیلی خاطره خوب برای من. خیلی. یعنی بعد از اون همه مشکلات، بعد از اون همه سختی‌ها، اولین دوست خیلی تاثیر داره روی آدم.
راست میگی.
واقعا تاثیر داره. یعنی کیانا یه جرقه شد توی زندگی ما که دیگه اصلا
این چیزا
یه روز دو روز که از زهرا نپرسم میگم زهرا کیانا زنگ نزد.
I know they speak Farsi. I don't understand a word. I tried to recognize a word, a familiar sound, but little without success. They are laughing. I'm not sure if this is Kyra or not. I guess not. It seems to be a nice atmosphere. They trust each other, I suppose. Otherwise, they wouldn't have started laughing in this specific tone. A recognizable sound comes from the background. English, pop culture, pop music. I'm wondering, who put this music? Someone is laughing on the back. A kid, I think. I picture them all sitting together in a small plastic chair with kids running and laughing around them. I have the feeling it's summer. Hot summer. I hear Natasha referring to Kyra. She calls her by her name. Or maybe she just talks to the woman about Kyra. I don't know. I listen to the clip once more. I focus on the sound this time, on the musicality of this unknown language. They sound calm. The sound they produce creates a contrast with the music playing on the back. I like the long vowels they use. It calms me as well for a strange reason.
Giechelen, woordjes, radio, stem wordt wat serieuzer, maar blijft uitermate vriendelijk en welcoming. Iets wordt benadrukt. Natasha zit dichter bij de microfoon. Opeens is er ruimtelijkheid, radio, zuchten, stem keert terug en moduleert naar een andere toonhoogte. Alsof ze nu iets zegt wat iemand anders ooit zei, of wat ze zelf ooit eerder zei. Wat een mooie taal, de stem blijft in de hoogte, de woorden rollen en buitelen. Snotneus, zucht. De radio is meer waarschijnlijk een smartphone. Er is een klein kind, ik meen het woord Kabul te horen. Het eerste woord dat betekenis heeft, een soort van global popmuziek. Ik stel me voor dat ze naar het schermpje op de smartphone kijken, waar 3 dansers synchroon dansen, in glitterkleren en in lichtblauw licht. Natasha vindt iets lief, schattig.
What were the audio clues, if you want, that gave you this idea? What is that assessment based on, if you want?
There were 3 women and 1 child.
We imagined that this, because of the intergenerational nature of this encounter, that these people might be related to each other, but we have no way of knowing that. But we just imagined that, hearing an older woman's voice, a woman, a child.
These women were telling a story that sounded like an interview.
Created this space in order to solicit information, that there was a researcher learning in an environment in which she was doing mostly listening.
It sounded for us like they were sharing some intimate information, maybe in an intimate space as well, that could have been a kitchen or a living room. They sounded very relaxed and comfortable, and we imagined that the space, because of the sound, might not be in an urban space, but in a rural space.
We had a little discussion because Desiree said it was a rural space because there was no background noise. And then I said, if it's in the Netherlands in the winter, it's probably a boxed off ice insulated space. So no, you wouldn't hear the outdoor traffic. But for her, you said you would expect to hear the outdoor traffic if it was in the city.
Of the tone of the voice, there was no particular audio in the background, but the sound of the music. So it had to be like a closed space. And
we thought that maybe, again, being a space of what we think is all women, that they may have been sharing intimate stories.
And they were talking very confident, and two of them were laughing, smiling.
That laughter that's a little nervous laughter that Liv interpreted as maybe being a laughter about intimacy or something funny being shared, but we imagine that there might be sort of a personalness of the nature, not just talking about the weather.
This is, for us anthropologists, very interesting, because very often in that sort of assumption that we understand what it is that we hear, all kind of things can go wrong, actually.
I start the clip with some expectations already. There's two women sitting in the floor. I recognize Kyra and an older woman next to her. They look so emotional.
Touch, 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 cuddle, cuddle, strokes, strokes her hair, her arm, body contact. Kyra seems completely overwhelmed. And the older woman, she loves telling whatever it is that she is saying.
I feel emotional by looking at them. I begin the video again. They look so happy to be together. It seems like there is a special bond between the two of them.
They kiss, a prolonged kiss, a mother-daughter kiss.
They touch each other. They hug. They smile. Their movements, their expressions are really interesting. She continued talking, and then she looks back at Kyra.
Kyra is totally in the moment, savoring every instance of it.
Kyra is getting really emotional, I think, but I'm not sure. The old lady continued to speak. She seems to describe something or explaining something to Kyra.
They look each other into the eyes.
And Kyra just smiles to her. The body language is so intense. It feels that they can say way more than what the words are saying.
Does it even matter what is being said? Not in this clip, it doesn't.
It feels that the sound is not necessary. I play the video for the third time. I now start to observe the room around them. The colors, the furnitures, the objects. I notice a blue strainer on the back, an orange cable, and a black boiler. The walls in the room have a strange texture. It's weird how my first observations were about the relationships of the two women, their expressions and their gestures, and how only after I start to observe the surrounding. I close my eyes and try to remember the colors I've just watched. Red, blue, grey, green. They are in a kitchen. I can clearly see the oven, the sink behind them, and the fridge.
They sit on soft woolen blankets, I should say. There is all kind of other stuff present in the room, but that is not where I want to be, not even with the older woman being Afghan and Kyra being Kyra.
My attention still lies into the two women, how they look at each other, how happy they look. What their true relationship might be. I'm curious if they know each other for a long time already. The camera now focuses on Kyra's hands. I notice there's a bracelet in Kyra's hand. There's a bracelet too in the old lady's hand. A metal bracelet or a golden bracelet.
In this clip I just want to be with the smiles and the cuddles. What is it that produces this blissful scene? Proximity. Is it the way that Kyra is included differently because she is outside language? Maybe, but I guess there are endless other reasons to think of.
When I read back my recollections of the encounter, I feel a bit funny. With footnotes, I tried to give more context to the situation and ask critical questions about my recollection, like how was I framing what was happening here? For example, I used the word container, but I could have said ISO box or shelter or temporary house, or connex, as people in the camp themselves refer to it. Instead of camp, I could have said reception center or temporary accommodation facility. How does one word immediately change the scene set in your imagination? Would I have mentioned it if we had been sitting at a table? And I wrote we, but this recollection is really written only from my single perspective. I remember now I felt funny about using this encounter for a project without Mariam or Natasha knowing it. I realize now how part of my memory of this encounter must be a compilation of previous experiences. I had spent so much time in this container with this family. And well, I usually wear jeans and was always aware of how impractical they were for sitting on the ground. The contrast between the cold exterior of the camp and the warm interior of this container home was always there, too. I think I was struggling with finding my place here. Before this moment, I had spent months within the camp already and had managed to do plenty of interviews with the help of Mariam's daughter as an interpreter. And now, with my friend and colleague Natasha here speaking the language fluently, I felt a bit of an outsider of the conversation and less involved or connected to Mariam than I was before. After the interview, I sat down next to Miriam to thank her for her time and her willingness to talk to us. I immediately became emotional. Had Mariam sensed my insecurity? While the interview we did with her on camera was prepared, this part was not. It was spontaneous. When choosing a fragment for this project, I had been worried about how the power relations between us would come across. What would be made of us filming here inside her home? How genuine would it be interpreted? Would people think of me as the stereotype volunteer girl working in a refugee camp in Greece? Or maybe see me as a researcher crossing lines, becoming too close to the people she was working with? After seeing this clip again and again and dissecting it the way we did, and hearing how it is perceived by different people on different levels, I am able to let many of these doubts and critical questions go, and feel gratitude for the fact this moment of spontaneous appreciation is captured on camera. Doing an anatomy has helped me reconnect to the sensuous side of this encounter and bring me back to the core of this moment.
Yeah, for me personally, this fear of being misunderstood or of being seen as a fraud or someone who's taking advantage or someone who's intruding a personal space, like all these worries that I have or that I had when I was there, and about like I also at that time I felt very responsible for this family because I had spent so much time with them and also depended on them for in a way because her daughter was my translator. I don't know, it just felt very loaded and very difficult, but then seeing it and hearing how you perceive it helped me just feel like, okay, there's two people and they really connect and it's an honest interaction and they're both vulnerable in a way and they're both in control and out of control. Right. And it just happens. And
so the worry was more with the remembering without the clip, And then after having gone through all of this process, you realize what people see is an emotional encounter between people.
That's very sincere, and there's no agenda there. Like it just happens, and that kind of
If you really want that to come out, you should probably be more explicit about it, because.
But I don't know if that's interesting. Like I don't know if it's because we are supposed to ask all these questions, right? We are supposed to be critical and self-aware, and
yeah.
But maybe within that we sometimes lose sight of this very yeah.
خیلی ممنون for the stories.
منم از شما ممنون.
مامانم کیانا خیلی دوست
داره. اولین دوست بود که اینجا با کیانا آشنا شدیم. این خیلی خاطره خوب برای من. خیلی. یعنی بعد از اون همه مشکلات، بعد از اون همه سختی‌ها، اولین دوست خیلی تاثیر داره روی آدم.
راست میگی.
واقعا تاثیر داره. یعنی کیانا یه جرقه شد توی زندگی ما که دیگه اصلا
این چیزا
یه روز دو روز که از زهرا نپرسم، میگم زهرا کیانا زنگ نزد؟ کیانا کجایه؟ میگه مامان زنگ زد. چجوری؟ خوبه؟ میگه خوبه. میگه مامان شوخی تو هم دیگه حال کیانا رو فراموش نمونی؟ گفتم نه مامان. گفتم این کیانا بود که اولین روز آمدیم اینجا دست رو گرفت.
کیانم خیلی دوست شما داره، همیشه اینقدر
خیلی دوست. بخیر که کجا رفتم قبول شدم خانه شما رو.
من هم همینطور دوست دارم. کیانم خیلی دوست.